Hey everyone. So this is I'm Paul from the Nexa team, and I'm just gonna use today to take you through the Tokenize app that we're working on at the moment, which is an application for creating and managing new tokens on Nexa. So it's a non-custodial app. It means that there's no back end at all. Everything that happens in the app essentially happens on your computer. Other than obviously to get blockchain data, obviously that needs to connect to servers and the nodes on the network. But all signing, signatures, and all of the the security parts of it all happens on your computer, so that it's 100% in your control all the time. So this is not a finished application. This is just like using Figma to go through a kind of prototype, so it will work the way the app will work in the end. The developers are still working on it at the moment. Like I said in the update that was done yesterday, we expect this app to be released in about 6 weeks' time, something like that. So yeah, I'm going to take you through, and I'm going to try and do a bit of an explanation of how tokens on Nexa work as well, because that will hopefully make things a bit clearer in the application as well. So, okay, so this will be the starting page. You can restore a wallet if if you have a seed already for one. It will import any normal seed. So, for example, you could import a seed from the Topload wallet in here if you wanted to. So yeah, you just put the 12-word seed in and click restore, and that would import those keys into the app. And then you can create a new wallet from scratch. So it will generate a new seed, which you obviously need to write down to back up at least one place, ideally two, in my opinion, two different locations. And then once you go create, you can set up your password, which will be used to encrypt the seed, so that the seed is actually never stored on your computer, or rather the seed is only stored when you're using the app. It's actually completely deleted when you close the app down, and it's only saved encrypted, and the information that's used for encryption is the password, so that when you enter the password in the app, it will decrypt the seed and then re-grab all the information it needs to be able to access it. So this is keep security high on the app. But what we're going to do today is just go into the open wallet, because there's a bunch of stuff already set up in there. So go open wallet, enter the password, confirm, and this takes you to the main page, which just gives you some information about your wallet. So we've got a balance of 1 million Nex in here, which is actually this is enough for a very large number of transactions at the moment on Nexa, and so yeah, this would be plenty to run the app for managing lots of different token interactions. So you've got a receive address, so if you need to top up the balance at any point, you can copy and refresh that. And then for basic interface for just sending tokens or coins, if you want to send some Nex out of the wallet. You've got address, amount, click send, and it will give you like a summary of what you're about to do. Click confirm and the transaction gets sent. So that's all pretty simple stuff, obviously. But where it gets interesting is the create token group. So in here, you'll put the key information about the token. So you've got token name, the ticker of the token, how many decimals the token uses. So if you want to have your token divisible by 100, you'd put two decimals in here. You got the quantity, how many tokens you want to mint initially with the token group, sorry, and then the metadata URL. So this is we kind of did some back and forth on this and how to handle the metadata, because the metadata is not stored on chain. It's just a hash of the metadata that's stored on chain, and so the metadata is stored somewhere else. We had considered whether we should use like some service to store that data for you, but we decided both for making the simplicity of development as low as possible, and for flexibility for you guys for developing tokens, that it's better if we just give you the ability to add a URL and then you can take care of the hosting yourself. There's lots of different ways you could do that. For NFTs, there's actual dedicated services like nft.storage. And so basically what we're going to do is just provide some guides to you on different ways you could use to host it. But the end result is you just need to put the URL in there, and that'll grab the data from wherever you've stored it. So you enter all the information in there. Oh yeah, sorry, there's one I missed there, which is the parent group. So we'll kind of come back to that later. So you click create, and it'll put all the details in just to confirm before you do create a token. And then when you create, it will actually create the token group and then mint those at that initial quantity of tokens. Okay, so what you'll see, let's go here. Okay, so you can also, another way of interacting with a new token group instead of just creating it is you can actually import one. So you'll be able to do this with any tokens, even ones that you do not have any control over. You can search the token name in here. We may have different ways that you can search, maybe like by ID would also be sensible. We'll have a look at that. But yeah, you can do it basically a search for different tokens here. It will come up with the token you're searching for, give the key information about it, like how much supply exists, the ID, the current permissions that can still be used for that specific token group, the short description, and then the metadata URL. So it gives you a summary, and then you can just click import, and that will add that group, that token group, into your app, so that you can then start interacting with it if you have the permissions to interact with it. And also we've got the page, which is just a history of the transactions that you've sent and received into your wallet. So that's fairly self-explanatory. You've got date, the token of that specific transaction ID, the amount of tokens that were sent or received, and then the actual action that happened. So send, mint, melt, authorize. It's just a history of what's happened basically of transactions in your wallet. Okay, so over here on the left, we've got token groups, and these are the tokens that you've either imported or created. So we've got a number of different groups here. Okay, so we'll start with this. These are all example, like none of these are real tokens. So, this is all just example data right now. So we've got an example of a wrapped ether token. This is the token page. So when you click on one of these token groups here, it will open up the summary of all the information about that token. So at the top, we've got the key details. You've got the token ID, permissions, which I'll talk about in a second, the short description, and the metadata URL, and the total supply. And then you've got a QR code. So if your wallet needs to scan the token ID to import that information, then they can use that QR code for that. Okay, so now is probably a good time to go a little bit of detail on how do tokens actually work on Nexa, right? Because tokens on Nexa are miner validated, which means that the miners are actually securing them in the same way that they secure Nexa itself. So they get, you only need to have a transaction to know that you've received tokens, which is actually different to non-miner validated tokens, where you actually need to check the full history back to the genesis of that token to validate that they are, like, someone really is sending you those tokens. And there's other advantages as well. And so one of the ways that is kind of unique about how tokens work on Nexa is we have something called permissions. So the way you interact with a token is you can obviously just send and receive tokens, and that doesn't require any permissions. And you can create new token groups, and that doesn't require any permissions either. So anyone can create a token group. It doesn't cost any extra fee other than just the normal the minor fee, which is just based on the size of the transaction. So to create a token group, it costs something like, I think, 15% more than a normal Nexa transaction. So it's very, very low cost to do it, open to anyone. But then once a token group exists, there are specific permissions that only people that have like this permission can do, or entities can do. And the way this works is that there's extra special UTXOs. So the equivalent of coins that have permissions assigned to them, and these permissions are generated at the time of creation of the group, and then they get passed down to as what's a good way of explaining it? So new authorities can be created, and these authorities can create new authorities and can pass down permissions to different entities. So there's 5 permissions, and the first permission is the permission to create new authorities. The next permission is to mint new tokens. So if there is existing 10,000 tokens, a UTXO that has a mint authority could create another 5,000 tokens on top of that, for example. And then we've got the melt authority, so that does the opposite. It means you can actually decrease the number of existing tokens for a token group. We've got Rescript, which is a bit of a complex one. So initially at launch, there won't be Rescript functionality available, but we will add it later on. To try and put it in simple terms, if there is a smart contract template, so some kind of extra rules applied to a token group, then an authority with the Rescript permission is able to change those rules when a token is kind of applied to that authority. So this is like quite an advanced capability. We didn't want to bog the development of the application down too much by working on providing that capability, because we want to make sure we do it really well. So that won't be there at launch, but it will be there later on. And then the final permission is subgroup capability. So subgroups are groups within groups, which is a kind of weird concept, but an easier way to explain it is, so you can have a set of NFTs, each of those NFTs being unique, obviously that being the thing that makes them non-fungible, but they can be part of a group that it's a parent group of all of those set of NFTs. So there's a number of benefits of this, especially on the smart contract side of things, because it's easier to track in terms of smart contracts a set of NFTs if they are part of an actually identifiable kind of parent group. This will become more kind of obvious as people start to use tokens. So an NFT, for example, is a subgroup. That's specifically what an NFT is, although you can make fungible subgroups as well. Okay, so I hope I kind of explained that in fairly understandable terms. These are the 5 different permissions that are available to someone who has authority UTXOs. And so this section here, where it says authority UTXOs, this is a list of all authority UTXOs that exist for this token, and each UTXO has different permissions. Okay, and so all of these are listed on here. Access, the one at the beginning, just is describing whether your wallet has access to this specific UTXO. So you can see that this UTXO, your wallet does have access to it. the second UTXO, your wallet does not have access to it. So although these permission, like this mint permission and this melt permission and this subgroup permission do exist somewhere, someone has these permissions, they don't, this specific UTXO is not available to spend in your wallet. But what you can do is use the import authority function. So let's say someone else on some other account has an authority with certain permissions that you need. Then you can ask them to send them to you by sending that authority UTXO to your wallet. And that will give you those permissions. And so they will just send them to this address, which is an address in your wallet, and that will give you those permissions. And then the other thing is just is a list of transactions that happened related to this token group. So it's like the history page with a list of transactions, but this is just transactions for this specific token group. Okay, so that's kind of that's fungible tokens or token groups. And then there is also a second, obviously very common type of token, which is non-fungible tokens. And these are signified by this little NFT icon here in the list of token groups. And so many things are the same. So you've got the same, like a token ID, this is like the parent. The token ID is the parent group ID, like the parent of all of these subgroups or NFTs. Shows the same, so what permissions you have available, and then the main difference is obviously you can actually see a list of actual NFTs here. At launch, this will come with some basic NFT functionality, the kind you can see here, but we plan to essentially add much more advanced NFT capabilities later in the year. Like one thing I'd really like to add is the ability to batch generate a set of NFTs. So this is one of the functions on OpenSea, for example, that you can. Is it on OpenSea? I can't remember. I may be misspeaking now, but yeah, one of the functions that you can find in various NFT tools is the ability to generate a large number of NFTs. For example, on attributes that you could have different eyes, different clothes, for example, on this specific NFT type. So I'd like to be able to add that later on in the year, just so it becomes more useful. Other than that, it's mostly the same. You've still got the authority UTXOs, you've got a list of transactions. Yeah, so okay, so one thing I missed in the token page is that, so these permissions, these are actually also buttons. So let's start with this one. If you click on the authorized permission, what you can actually do is generate new authorities. So if, for example, you wanted to give some authority to someone else who, for example, has the Tokenize app, then you can create a new authority with specific permissions. Maybe you only want to give them, these three authorities: authorize, mint, melt. You would just enter their address, which they give to you, and then you go authorize, and it would send that new authority UTXO to them. You can also obviously just put your own address in there if you want to just generate it and have it in your wallet for use later on. Then that's perfectly fine too. So that's an important one, obviously, especially if you're an organization with multiple people that need to manage things. You want to be able to have control of who has permission to do what, and so that's going to be a key function for that. Then, of course, minting. So if you want to increase the supply, then you can use this function to change the supply, mint or melt. Minting creates new tokens, melting decreases the number of tokens. I should say, to melt, you can only obviously melt tokens that you actually have access to in your account. You can't arbitrarily melt tokens that other people are holding. That you can only melt tokens that are actually in your wallet. And then we've got subgroup function, but essentially what a subgroup function does is that, I said I would come back to this earlier, is that it selects a parent group, which is a group you already have added into your list of token groups. So for example, you could select the wrapped ether as a parent group, and then you put the normal details in you'd put in for a new group, and then you click create. But because it's a parent group, it now is creating a subgroup as opposed to just a normal group. So that it's subgroups can be very, very similar to just normal groups, other than in the case of NFTs, where obviously there's only one individual unique token, subgroup token. So yeah, I think that's basically it. We'll have some, the normal settings that you get in a wallet in here, in the settings menu. Yeah, I think that basically covers it. I mean, the application should be fairly simple to use. We hope that this becomes like a very useful tool for launching new token projects. And like I said, we after the initial release, we actually plan to expand the functionality quite a lot throughout the rest of the year. And we really want it to be like a leading token management application, so that the barriers for entry for creating tokens on Nexa are lower than any other chain, because the technology allows this. It's much, much easier to create and manage tokens on Nexa than on other chains, and we want to make sure the interface to do that is equally as easy. So yeah, I hope I've done a reasonable job of explaining how all of this works. I'm really excited for you to start using it. I'm excited to use it myself as well. Yeah, let me know if you have any questions about it. I'm happy to answer those as well. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys.